asking me to speak about biodiversity and to include also something on food composition, by the way. I think everybody here in this room would agree with me saying that biodiversity is one of the treasures that we have to cope with climate change in the future. And also to combat micronutrient deficiency. If we want to have food in the future, we need to have more genetic resources to have the possibility to adjust to the changing climate. And we need to have foods which are rich in micronutrients to combat the micronutrient deficiencies. And biodiverse foods are often higher in micronutrient content compared to normal foods. What I would like to show you a picture. Saying that I only don't want that biodiversity is used in some remote communities. It should be used as something which is ruled out through all our agricultural system. And this is the point that I would really like to do. So I have plotted in some figures, meaning that when you look at these few crops, you look at the beta-carotene content, you look at the left-hand side, this is the lower range where we can produce, and on the right-hand side is the higher range where we can produce. Okay, it doesn't work. If we plot now the whole world production, you can see that if we do that, we could on the layer, if we produce on the lower end, we can produce enough of vitamin A for 114 million people. If we would produce on the higher end of the range, we would be able to produce enough vitamin A for 25 billion people, meaning 3 times the global RDI. And this is what I would really like to say is that if we change our agricultural system, that we are not producing as we are doing now on the low end range of vitamin A, but on the higher end, we would be able to combat vitamin A deficiency, not with fortification, not with supplementation, but with food, and using the existing biodiversity that we already have. We don't have to do GMO, we don't have to biofortify, it's already there, we just have to use it. The question is, why don't we use it? Because there are 2 main reasons. One of the main reasons is most of the biodiverse foods, we have no idea, but just no idea what is the food composition. What is the content of vitamin A? What is the content of the minerals? What is the content of the other vitamins? We don't know because we have not explored them yet. And like Antutweiler said this morning, they are under-researched. And I really fully agree with her that it is true. We don't know, if we don't know their food composition, we don't know their nutrient content, we are not going to promote them. We are not going to use them in agriculture. We are not going to use them in our programs and policy in agriculture. And we are not using them in nutrition to promote them that people are eating. So why don't we have this data? Because I think most also would agree with me saying that food composition is not a sexy science. So why should I go into a non-sexy science if I could go in GMO or whatever, where I can become a good, known and well-recognized scientist? So with food composition, I'm sorry, but you cannot. But you can generate data which are extremely useful to make a difference in the world. The second reason why we don't have this data is, and this is when I make a talk on biodiversity, normally always people come to me afterwards and say, you have made a very nice presentation, I really like it, but you know what, it will never work. And then I ask why, because you can make much more money with food fortification and supplementation than with biodiversity, so it will never work. So do we accept that for the future as well? So it is up to us to decide what we want. Do we want only to make money, or do we want to make a difference in malnutrition? Do we want to make a difference in micronutrient deficiency using foods and using the existing biodiversity that we have? And here is an example of what we normally do, because we don't have the data. We borrow data from somewhere else. And this is normally data produced on what I said before, on the low end of the production. So we would underestimate the iron value. And when I then plot it in, you can see that random error in food composition will flatten the curve of the intake, making that the true intake is raised up to the apparent intake, which is much higher. And if I add to this one, not only that we have random errors, but we have systematic errors shifting the whole distribution to the left or to the right, we may increase in additionally the apparent part of the population which is not adequately covered with the micronutrients. And here I would like to bring you to look at country E. Country E could be a country like India, where a lot of people eat plant foods. Depending on the definition of vitamin A, and on the RDI that I'm using, with the same food consumption, with the same food composition data, I can get 35%, 61%, or 92% of the nation being inadequately covered by vitamin A, only by changing these two parameters. And this is the last point that I would like to make is, first of all, for obesity, we have shifted from, it's a pity that I don't. Okay, we have shifted from a normal weight, what was some 50 years ago what was usual, and I think we have shifted our distribution to what is now normal, is obese. Obese or overweight is becoming the norm. And if we want to make any changes as well, we need to make changes. I don't know. Oh, it's fine. We need to make changes of the whole distribution. So we cannot only work, or we should not only work on the right-hand side where we have most of the problem, but we should try to shift the whole intake of micronutrients to a higher intake, not only focus on the poor portion where we think there is a problem. And if we would do so, I think we would achieve a much healthier diet. So, and this is how nutrition and agriculture should and hopefully will work much more together. And if they would use more biodiversity, I'm sure that we would make the difference to so many people in the world, and we would be able to move nutrition-sensitive agriculture from something like a theory to a practice. And with this one, I would like to thank you for your attention.